welcome everyone to our first Title Tuesday of 2021. This is going to be a series of webinars that will be held on the third Tuesday of every month. We'll bring you different topics depending on kind of what the hot topic is, or if there's any suggestions from anyone. You're welcome to email the education team, and we will get that out to you. So without further ado, I do want to introduce our panelists today. We have Marie Barber with Fidelity National Title. Yeah. We have Kevin Barrett with Chicago Title, and I believe it's Michelle behind Kevin. And we have Jim Cortese with Old Republic Title, Matt Jacobs with Stewart Title, and Justin Knowles with Stewart Title as well. So I want to thank all of you for being here on our first Title Tuesday. The last time we had everybody together was April of 2021, just as COVID was starting, and we were giving everybody updates. So I figured it's fitting to start the year off with everyone to give us some updates. So I'm going to start with actually Marie and ask, and then, please everyone jump in if you've got answers as well. So we'll start with, are there any specific COVID related industry updates to Title that you would like everyone to be aware of?
Yes, and believe me, these guys will not hesitate to jump in, okay? The first thing that comes to mind, the major thing, is forbearance. You're going to see that term over and over again. And that is where the government came in and said, hey, you guys who have been affected by COVID, maybe you can't make your monthly payments on your mortgage because of layoffs or whatever. And so it's not a forgiveness of the loan, but it is a delay. And so as soon as you take a listing, my suggestion is that's the first thing you need to ask when you're doing the paperwork. Have you modified or have you gotten involved in a forbearance on your loan? That would be very helpful for us to know, because particularly if it's an FHA, there's an additional recording and an additional servicing company that we've got to contact. So we're going to need all that information, and it takes longer. So forbearance.
So that's going to be our buzzword at the beginning of the year, is forbearance.
Yep.
Now, just out of curiosity, and this may be opening up a can of worms, and it may not be a question that you guys can answer, but do you think that forbearance may lead to foreclosure, or is that not your guys's area?
But yes.
Okay.
I do. Because they give you, initially it was 6 months, and at the end of 6 months, you had to come up with all of the amount that you had not paid. Well, then they extended it, and they're going to extend it again, I'm sure. So you're looking at a month and a half of payments that you've got to come up with like right now, and you may not still have a job. So.
And can someone answer, on average, and maybe this is hard to answer, but how many times do you see someone coming with a listing where the house is in forbearance, or the seller is in forbearance? Is that a high number, a low number?
I'm letting them answer one. Michelle, you've seen them, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we definitely have. And sometimes we'll get a demand and it's in like small print down there, accrued balance that needs to be paid. So it's really something scary that we in escrow have to look out for.
And I just wanted to add something to that is a lot of the sellers are also surprised about this deferred amount. They're not sure. They just thought that they're under the impression that they don't need to make a payment, and then they see this big lump sum that's now due, and it's a little of a shock when they see it on the seller statement. So please also put that on your estimated statement when you're doing a listing presentation.
Yeah.
Michelle, so I'll just repeat that really quickly, and then Michelle will move a little bit closer, but it sounds like it is happening, and that the sellers are surprised when they see a big number that they have to come up with to to get it out of forbearance. And does it have to be out of forbearance in order for the house to be sold?
Well, we have to pay it off. So yes.
Okay. And then Justin, Matt, are there any other changes that are just in general for 2021 as we have a new year? Are there other changes to escrow process or title that people should be aware of just as we enter a new year?
Matt, you want to go with escrow? Oh, you're mute.
Matt, do you have answers to that one?
Sorry, can you repeat that again? My sound and everything went off all at once.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I was just wondering, I know there's changes because of COVID, but every year there's new laws, there's new things that happen that not everybody's aware of. Is there anything specifically for 2021 that is new or different in the escrow process?
I don't know what's going on here. For 2021, I mean, I would say, well, just to add to the forbearance thing, a lot of the people refinancing, they have to pay off their forbearance before they can actually go through with a refi. Otherwise, I mean, right now it's we're just trying to make way with what we're given. I mean, just trying to navigate through, new requirements. Everybody's, feels a little bit differently about COVID. Some people, really careful about it. Some people don't want a mobile notary. Some people want to come to the office. So it's just trying to find what everybody's comfortable with. And we're just trying to do the best that we can right now, really.
You brought up mobile notary, and that was one of the things that I was going to ask about. And if anybody wants to answer this, so it sounds like there's still mobile notaries out of there happening. Are there still notaries happening on the hood of cars outside? I remember that was something you guys were talking about at the beginning of the year. Jim, you're nodding your head.
Yes, I've heard of the exact same thing just within the last week. So apparently it's still going on. I think people, because we have from one spectrum to another when it comes to people's feelings about COVID. So, I mean, that could be the notary that, is being a little more careful. It could be the borrowers or the buyers or the sellers, but it definitely exists still.
Okay.
Yeah, our mobile notaries are essential to our business. And it's unfortunately, sometimes it's hard to find them at the last minute. And we're being pushed to sign, get the docs, sign them today. And we just simply can't do that sometimes.
And I feel like I heard at some point they were going to talk about letting things being notarized online. Is that an option, or is it still that is not an option? It still has to be a person.
Not in California.
Not in California.
Not yet. I'm hoping that that's going to be a new buzzword for 2021.
Online notary.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we've got so many people that are situations of they've gone out of the United States and they can't come back in, and they're our citizens that cannot get what we need from them. So it's been difficult.
Okay. Now you mentioned not even in the country and things like that, and it makes me wonder, and it brings up wire fraud. And I know from a lot of you on your emails that I'm seeing coming from you, it's I cannot certify anything in this. Kevin, can you guys talk about wire fraud and maybe how you guys are helping to protect people?
Yeah, I'd love to. One of the things working for, a Fortune 300 company is we are easy targets for wire fraud to happen. And it happens via email. And it's not just us being targeted, but really the real estate in general, those realtors and mortgage people, and their key words that are being hacked. So for us, what we've done is spend a lot of money on a service called StartSafe. I know Marie has the same thing as we do, and so does our sister company, Lawyers. What we've done is made it a portal that is really safe for the consumer, safe for the agent. One of the things we want to do is eliminate that email that is easily accessible. So that information from the very start, that's why it's called StartSafe, is for the portal from the consumer to give us the information. So we'd ask the agent to give us a phone number and an email so we can kind of talk to that consumer, get the information, have them start in a secure portal. And it's got a two-factor authentication method. So it's really safe for anybody involved, that information that those hackers are trying to get to won't be able to. And so what we're doing is spending a lot of money and obviously training, right? I mean, not all consumers can jump on to something very simple. So there's definitely a time-consuming piece of this where everybody's got to be trained. We got to slow down sometimes with a seller who might not exactly have the patience and the wherewithal to be able to do that. But what we're doing is really making it safe for the public and safe for the realtor, who in the end could be sued because of the information that they shared with their client. The key component there is the wiring instructions. That wiring instruction and how that's shared is really the access to either keeping that money or losing that money. And some of these things are irreversible. The consequences can just happen, and there's no way to get it back. It happens that fast. So for us, Start Safe has been, really the starting point. I know that there's some other technologies coming for the consumer and for the agent, but everything seems to be running through a portal that is secure, and that information doesn't get shared with the wrong people.
So, I guess maybe for either Matt or Jim, what are some of the things that an agent can tell their clients to look for during this process? So obviously they're going to get an email, but what are some of the things that an agent can tell their clients specifically? Don't do this, look for this. What would be some of those things?
Well, simply, pick up the phone and call your escrow officer or your title company. I personally wouldn't do anything like that, share any of that information online over the internet in an email. And there's still some of the typical clues that we've talked about before. Emails not exactly reading the same way they should, a dot in the wrong place on the actual email address. And there's certain things like that, but it tends to be, we still see a few. I don't know about the other folks on this call. I'm interested in what they have to say. We've seen it slow down a little bit at Old Republic Title. It seems to be, they seem to be hacking the independent agents, the smaller agents. Maybe they don't have the proper firewalls and things like that. We don't see as much of it where they're hacking a Coldwell Bank or an Intero or a Compass or even a title company, because we have the proper firewalls in place, but that's just our experience.
Can I jump in with some facts and figures?
You.
I think this is good news for everybody. In 2019, Fidelity family had 2,136 attempts for a total of $53.7 million. Okay, these are funds that were diverted. They went elsewhere, right? We were able to recover about 19 million. Okay, because we worked very heavily with the FBI. But here's the good news. 2020, it went from 53.7 million to 12.2 million. Now that's progress. And I think it's all because of things like Start Safe. It's also because of CAR putting the warnings in the contract. In any warning that a realtor can give to their client about not paying attention to these spoofed emails, because they actually take our signature line and our picture of the escrow officer and put it on their emails and say, this is where you're supposed to send the wire. So I just think that's good news, really. It's come way down, and I agree with you, Jim. It's much better.
Matt and Justin, you guys, sorry.
Well, I think the title companies, I don't think Old Republic Titles alone, but we probably had more training in wire fraud over the last year than anything. And I don't know if that's a good commentary or a sad commentary, but it's been drilled into these escrow people's brains, and they're all doing a really, really good job, I think, of avoiding it.
Sign of the times, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt.
Oh, you're good.
I was gonna say, do either one of you, Justin or Matt, want to speak to wire fraud and maybe what you guys are seeing?
Well, I'll just touch base with what KB and the Fidelity family is doing. Is Stewart did partner with a company similar called Certified. So in this portal, it will charge $3 to the buyer and $3 to the seller on the transaction, but we are insured up to, the Certified insures the transaction up to $1 million to protect in wire fraud. So I think all the notable companies, you know, especially on this panel, are all incorporating some sort of protection for, you know, to take the transaction across the finish line, you know, with the safety of our customers, you know, at the top of mind.
Do you guys ever see phone calls for wire transfers when it comes to these things? I always think that sometimes, you know, you can see what the house is online for sale, and you can see all of those things. So I just wonder if you ever have clients getting phone calls asking for wire information or things like that, or is it just email that you're seeing?
On which end?
I'm just thinking, like, you know, there's a lot of, especially with COVID, you know, people pick up the phone and they'll say, they'll ask for your information over the phone, and you may have a, you know, a seller and someone saying, oh, this is Matt, I'm with, you know, Stewart Title, I'm trying to get your wire information so we can get your transfer going or anything like that. Do you guys see phone calls asking for those things, or is it typically email?
Typically email.
Email.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I won't give them any ideas then.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of stuff happens over the phone, especially with, you know, elderly who just give their information.
Mhm.
So
But-
I'll switch. Did you guys have anything else on wire fraud?
I was just going to say that the emails often happen because that's how they're watching the whole transaction. So it's a lot easier to be involved in the transaction because you're now mirroring what's going on between the buyer, seller, agent. And so
Okay.
that's a lot easier for them to track the transaction and get what they need, you know, at the right time.
Because they're paying attention to the email, so they know when that information be. Okay, that makes sense. Switching a little bit to county recordings, not just for Santa Clara County, because I think some of our agents work in San Mateo County or Monterey, San Benito, Alameda. What are you guys seeing with recordings of things? Are there still big delays? Any trouble spots?
Yeah.
Well,
Alameda County, for one, their plant date even today is November 6th. So a lot of lenders want title reports, you know, dated within 30 or 60 days, and that's just not happening right now. So they're slow. I mean, they had a rough run. They've never really been a electronic recording county, so they've made a lot of changes since COVID, and it seems like they're pretty short-staffed and not caught up. So they need some help over there for sure.
Mhm. On the
KB?
recording confirmation as well.
Yeah. they're
Yeah,
still
like
running
2 days
today.
behind.
Yeah.
I know
I think-
personally in Alameda County, we were waiting for something from October, and then it said temporary because it was done but not done. So
Mhm.
I believe Alameda County may have had some COVID outbreaks worse than other counties. So, you know, when that happens, you're going to a skeleton crew. And so obviously, if you're working with a third of this crew or half of the crew, that's going to pose a big problem too. So.
Mhm.
KB, did you have any
I
updates?
just think our hats off to Santa Clara County. You know, when this whole thing hit and they shut that thing down, it was kind of a shock to all of us what we were going to have to do. And Santa Clara County's been really, really good on our end. Can't speak for everybody else, but for us, they've been great. I mean, getting stuff turned back to us relatively quickly, not really losing a lot of time in terms of when the recordings happen and when we get that information back. And everybody's kind of giving us some patience. You know, the real estate and the mortgage people really have to give us a little more patience with this stuff. And I just think we haven't run into the troubles that we did back in March when they were closed. We really didn't know what we were going to do. And, Santa Clara County, we've been fortunate. Obviously, I would not want to be selling a whole lot of real estate and title insurance in Alameda County because you're running up against it and you got, gap insurance and all these other different variables, where here in Santa Clara, we got it pretty darn good.
Mhm.
That's a good thing. So hats off to Santa Clara County, and I think that's huge. And I think patience is something that on all of the marketing meetings that I've been on, that it sounds like the realtors and the lenders have really shown some grace and patience with the title and lending, or the title and escrow side of things, because it is, I think, busier than anybody expected, with more constraints. Is there anything any of you guys want to say to that piece?
No, it's my understanding that the counties possibly are taking some of the online notaries. I know everybody on this meeting was saying California is not happening yet, but I think in emergency cases due to COVID, there have been some isolated cases where the counties have been allowing it. Have you seen any of that, Marie, or any of
Yes,
you,
I have.
Michelle?
Yeah, I had one myself.
Yeah, we closed, yeah.
But it was an extreme emergency situation. You don't want to go there unless you absolutely have to.
Right.
Because again, it's not legal in California. So we were taking a chance, but we needed to.
So Maria, I have a question for you. We talked about this earlier. One of the biggest things I think for 2021 that is new, that is the question mark that everybody has, is Prop 19. Will that have an effect on escrow and title?
Not as far as we're concerned. We can give them the forms. I've always given them the forms, for years. Particularly on the 58 prop and the 60, but and the 90, but it's just a different laws now. Well, not now, but as of February the 1st?
I think you said the
16th, I think.
16th, yeah.
16th.
Okay. And then the other one, is April. I'm not really in tuned, other than I know the basics, but you see, that's not what we deal with. So, no.
Perfect. So title and escrow, not affected by Prop 19.
Nope.
Everybody wants to know what it's going to touch. Just in thinking about, current transactions and things you guys have seen as we're almost to a year into this COVID world. Are there any things that that agents can do now, maybe to help a process go smoother? Or are there any red flags that you're seeing that are happening right now that you want to make people aware of? Jim, I saw you nodding your head a little bit. Anything they can do smoother, or any red flags that pop up?
No, I can't think of anything in particular. Probably nodding my head because of all the noise outside my window. But...
Well,
Marie, or Michelle and Marie.
Well, go ahead, Michelle. You go first.
Sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
Sorry. So I just wanted to make sure that with this whole COVID, I think all the lenders, and I'm sure you guys everyone is aware that there's a lot of changes. It's day to day. Different lenders have done different platforms for each one. So I would say, please, the key is patience. You may have a transaction that's trying to go, and some lenders are delayed with their releasing their closing disclosure. Could be a different ways for funding or signing. So there's a lot of different things, and we can't just pinpoint to one lender, which is Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Stearns. It all varies from lender to lender. So just learning the platform and just having patience with your escrow team, it will be a successful escrow as long as you communicate and have patience.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Marie,
And
did you have?
mine is to give us as much information as you possibly can up front. I had an email fraud attempt just last week, and we kept asking the buyer's agent for the telephone number and the email address, which is all we need to send out our Start Safe digital opening package. And he just wouldn't. So then he sends us an email saying, your email has been hacked. And the buyer has received false wiring instructions. I'm like, well, okay, well, see, it's not on our end. They had spoofed our email, just as we've said, and yet the email address on it though was settlementsdesk00@gmail.com, which is very common. And because of that, the buyer almost wired his funds. Thank goodness he didn't. He was smart enough to talk to the realtor and say, should I really be doing this to this? Because I don't know, you know. So we were able to stop that one. And we are, again, we've got the FBI involved, excuse me, to try to find the, what is it called? The IP address, whatever, to try to find the fraudsters. So we do that a lot. But get information to us.
When you ask.
Yes.
Matt, are there any red flags that are popping up right now that people are doing, or is there anything that's holding up processes for you guys?
Oh.
We see you talking, but there we go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on with this thing. I mean, it's been unusually busy for a December. I mean, we're hiring people in December and January. So, I mean, you know, it's random that you're going to have transactions with red flags, and transactions you're going to have to spend more time with. Other ones that, you know, are cookie cutter slam dunks, so to speak. But yeah, as Michelle said, I mean, right now it's you know, patience for your escrow team. And I mean, for red flags, I mean, every day it's just making sure that you're being on top of things as good as possible, as far as, you know, making sure that the parties that you're dealing with did receive wire instructions securely, or they did verify them over the phone, or, you know, working with people in the pandemic that feel different ways about things. So, I mean, it's the people in our job that, you know, make the job what it is. So just trying to be as it's the word I'm looking for, is you know, empathetic as possible towards everybody that we work with. And you know, I think that's really the key right now, is just trying to be somewhat normal, you know, being a voice on the other end of the phone, just making sure that everybody is, you know, well taken care of, and that they have good customer service. And I mean, that's really the best that we can do right now. So
That makes sense. And if anybody has questions out there that are specific for any of our title people today, you can put them in the chat or into the Q&A. You can ask questions. Is there anything else that any of you want to share with anybody that's specific, maybe to Fidelity or Chicago, Old Republic, or Stuart, Michelle?
Yes, I would like to share that, you know, if you give us a chance, try to use our information gathering on your next listing. We want to add value to you. So if you provide us the listing, we can communicate with your seller and work with them throughout there for information gathering. So when we use the StartSafe will actually send an email to the seller. We have a cell phone number. It's a two-factor authentication. It will ask all the different questions. And this is before COVID time. We used to mail out like a letter to the seller and have them complete that information request. We no longer have to do that, because they will just complete it online and just verify that it's their information. We can find out whether it's their primary residence, investment, or if this property is under forbearance, just like Maurice mentioned earlier. And also, if you have a buyer who may also need that information, as long as you provide us the email address and cell phone number, we can also start the communication in regards to how they want to hold title, because those are important keys in regards to making your transaction smooth. I think that's it.
I think everybody on the call here is looking for a smooth transaction, right? I mean, that's the key to success. Makes the agent look good, makes the lender look good, home warranty. Everybody here just wants a smooth transaction. The last thing you need to do is leave somebody's down payment or deposit. And I think everybody here is just wanting a smooth transaction and looking for ways to do that. And I know technology is really the key component. If you look at the year ahead and what's going on, this, time frame, the compression on the dollar, all of that stuff is really pushed towards technology. And I think that, everybody here realizes that. And so if we can get a secure technology across the board through all of us, I mean, we do deals with everybody on this call, and they, it can be concurrent, there can be money going to another title company, all that stuff runs into the technology piece. And I know that as long as, we're up to speed on it and everybody's trying to teach it, we can make transactions smooth. And I think that's ultimately the goal for everybody involved in the transaction.
I'd like to also add to that about the deposits, because now all they have to do is take the buyer has to take a picture of their check and send it through our portal, and it goes into the bank. How easy is that? No cashier's check, no check given to the realtor, nothing. It's all safe and secure, right directly to us. So that's perfect.
Do you think that when you say that, it reminds me of like I can do that to deposit a check into my checking account? And so are these things and forgive me because I'm new to all of this, but are these things that came about because of COVID that are now here to stay? With being able to just take a check, like a picture of that, or was that something you were able to do pre-COVID?
We were working on it before COVID hit.
We were working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was COVID related. I think it's more technologically related, more millennial related, more the way the world's going. However, obviously, it certainly helps with COVID if there's no face-to-face interaction. You can do a transaction, the least amount of interaction. So it's kind of worked out that way. But we still see people lukewarm to it. I don't know how the other title companies are since we started having that product ourselves. I think people, you have people from one end of the spectrum to the other, people that want to do it that way. They don't want to drive anywhere, go see anybody. And then you have the other people that are afraid of, as we were talking about earlier, fraud and things like that. So we're getting lukewarm reception to it, but it's a nice product to have.
And is that a requirement now? Because to your point, you have some people that are lukewarm, or you have, people like my parents who maybe don't want to do that, but they're selling their house. So do you guys still accept that cashier's check or something like that if you have people that want to? Okay.
Oh yeah.
And I just wanted to add something to this, that mobile banking is something that we can use as an initial deposit. For the closing funds, it will still need to be a form of a wire or a cashier's check. So I just want to make sure, because a lot of some transactions, they made their initial deposit via mobile deposit and they're expecting to do their closing funds on there. It's not considered as the closing funds as verified. So just wanted to make sure that's clear.
So there's a question about the photo of the EMD, and I'm not sure what an EMD is. But the question is, are you guys confident that that works?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, very much.
And what is an EMD for me?
Earnest money deposit.
Okay.
From buyer side.
Okay. I have heard that in some contracts recently with if people can lose that if a deal doesn't happen and a deposit that you could lose. So okay. So knowing that you guys are all confident in that, this person is going to push it harder for
Thank you, Debbie.
So are there any other questions from anybody? Otherwise, unless you guys have any closing thoughts or closing things that you guys want to share with everybody about the title process, what you think it may look like. I know that we thought we knew what 2020 was going to look like, maybe.
I don't think anybody here is Nostradamus, so it's Nostradamus, I can't even say it right, but you know, if you were to tell me that we would have had the year we had back in March, I would have said you're crazy. Absolutely ludicrous and nuts. We were looking at a title company and probably title industry itself, probably, you know, reduction in force, hold on and not get through this. And for us, it's been absolutely just the opposite. We've been blessed with an amazing low interest rate, which has driven obviously home sales as well. So for us, thank you to the agents that have worked with us and those everybody else on this panel. I think that looking forward, I don't see much changing. I mean, I think Matt talked about it himself. You know, for us to be hiring folks in January is not the norm. The norm right now is usually tighten your belt, get through the first quarter and wait for the second and roll through second and third, where then we cycle it up again. I don't see that happening. You know, I'm not a fortune teller, but from what I'm seeing, rates are going to stay low. And once they, you know, perk up, our refis will tend to go away. But I don't think our demand for homes, I think COVID's kind of pushed that, where people have upsized and they want more room at their homes. And that's why I think our home sales have definitely run at a course that we've never seen. Days on the market under 20. Home priced right, gone in days, multiple offers. That's a fortunate market to live in. I don't think that changes within, you know, half the year. When I look at the third quarter, we're probably budgeting a little differently than what we were looking at, just based on rates. I think by the time we get to the middle of the year, I think rates will probably be, you know, 3.5 to maybe even higher. And that's just a guess, but that'll slow some things down. Until then, I don't see that changing. I see us, you know, trying to supply the best service we can. And I know everybody across the board is up against it because our escrow officers are really overworked, and you're trying to support them in ways that they've never had to keep this kind of pace going. And it's just been, you know, the only word I can come up with is it's kind of been ludicrous for some of these people. And then to compound it, nobody can take vacations. So you're going to see, once this thing does, you know, loosen up and the tiers change, you know, people want to take those vacations. So that puts us back in another space that we've got to even support it even more. So we've got to be up against it once this, you know, vaccine and everybody can kind of take their vacations again. So, you know, it's a good thing, but then it could be a bad thing. We just got to manage through it.
Matt, Justin, do you guys have any closing thoughts?
I'll start, Matt. Yeah, I mean, you know, to go off KB's point, I think that, you know, towards the Q3, I think you will have a little bit like 10% decline in refinances over the year, just in the fact that a lot of people have exercised their refinance this past year with the low rates. But, you know, with a transition of power happening tomorrow, an expected stimulus package, the vaccine rollout, I think that, you know, it being a seller's market, I think there'll be a little bit more inventory coming on. So buyers can get back in the game. So I think it's gonna be a really strong housing market. I think home builders are going to get back to the promises that they had, you know, when they had started projects and they had to lay off for a little bit or step back. You know, people lost their jobs, they couldn't complete the project. So I think home builders will get back into the market. So I think for 2021, it's looking pretty good.
Awesome. Marie, Jim, Marie?
Can I answer one of the questions here?
Yes.
It says, do you see that in-office sign-offs will happen anytime this year?
Yep.
And he or she says, I know it is up to the county with the restrictions, but is it something that escrow companies even want to do again? Yes, we want to do it. We love that that contact, you know, but right now, to keep our people safe, in addition to the county restrictions, we're keeping it closed. We feel that's so important for the ones that are in our offices, because we still have to have a lot of people in the office as well as people who are working from home. And so because of that, yes, we want to do it, but we want to make sure that everyone's gotten that darn vaccine and all that good stuff, okay?
Jim?
Yeah, I'll just say about the market, I think kind of a funny word to use, but I think it'll be a healthy market. I don't know if it'll be as robust as 2020. I think for most of us, it was a record-breaking year. A lot of it was refis, but you know, even then the resale was strong. So I expect a healthy year. And as Carol Rodoni used to say, you know, don't listen to the national news about real estate when it comes to Silicon Valley. We're in a bubble. People don't make the kind of money they make here. People don't have as much innovation as we have here. People don't have as much money saved as they have here. And it's still one of the best places, contrary to what some people think, to live in the world because of weather and a lot of other factors, especially jobs. So I thank God every day I live in Silicon Valley and not in Sioux City, Iowa. No offense to them, or Detroit, Michigan. Not bad places to visit, but as far as real estate goes, I think it's going to be healthy. And I think we're all very fortunate to be doing what we do, where we do it.
Yeah.
I agree. So I want to then thank everybody. I don't see any more questions coming unless anybody has a final burning question they can type quickly into the box. Otherwise, I just want to thank everyone for your time today. I know you guys are super, super busy, and like you guys said, you're stretched thin. And but I want to thank everyone for your time, and hopefully everybody finds this valuable. Once a month, we'll bring our title partners together and give industry updates of all kinds of things. And it sounds like wire fraud is the hot topic. So maybe we'll do an entire one on wire fraud. So thank you everyone for your time today.